executive session.
Oh,
Second. So let's move to Chris, student
for sharing, the end of April and the beginning of May have been very busy and exciting time at Sharing. We are delighted to welcome many children to our school, but take your child to work with you. They truly enjoyed experiencing a day in the life of an educator and gaining a better understanding of their parents' role within the school community. Last week, each of our classrooms received caterpillars, and students are enthusiastically observing their life cycle. This hands-on learning experience will culminate in each class participating in a butterfly release on the playground once the transformation is complete. On Wednesday, May 6th, we hosted our second annual Mother's Day Tea, welcoming families into the building for this special event. Thank you to Ms. Martini for coordinating this event. We would also like to thank the REPTA and KPAC for their support. We have also been celebrating our outstanding staff for Teacher Appreciation Week with a Spirit Week and many different treats throughout the week. Our students have had a great time participating in the various dress-up days this week to show their love for their amazing teachers. We're grateful for the REPTA, KPAC, Dr. Animo, Dr. Paz, and Mr. Hisiano for showing their support and appreciation for our staff this week. Looking ahead, we are excited for our upcoming field day on June 5th and our annual kindergarten celebration on June 23rd for Bergen. We recently held our annual spelling bee at Bergen Boulevard, and we're proud to announce that this year's winner was Shaden Lee. Congratulations to Jaden on a job well done. We would also like to extend a special thank you to Mrs. Westerville for organizing this year's spelling bee and helping make it a success. On Friday, May 1st, Bergen Boulevard hosted its first career day. Approximately 40 guests visited our school to speak with students about the importance of education and what it takes to be successful in the workplace. The event was a wonderful learning experience for our students, and we would like to give a special thanks to Mrs. Cortez for organizing such a meaningful day. This week, our students will be visiting the Turtleback Zoo, where they will have the opportunity to learn about animals, habitats, and conservations. We would also like to thank Ms. Diane Kim for organizing this trip for all our students. Finally, our second grade classes will be visiting the municipal building at the end of the month as part of the continued learning experiences outside the classroom. Lastly, we would like to extend a special thank you to all our teachers, teacher assistants, and related staff members for their hard work and dedication each day and every day. This week, we proudly celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week and recognized the tremendous impact our staff has had on our students and school community. For Stockholm, May 4th through the 5th, NGS Sleigh Band. May 6th, grades through 4 concert, chorus, and band concert. May 11th through the 12th, NGS Sleigh Science. May 13th and 15th, Frost Valley trip for the 7th graders. May 19th, Leave graduation for the 5th graders. May 20th, middle school art and science fair. May 27th, move-up day for the 8th grade. May 28th, full day for the Learning Center. And May 29th, middle school international festival celebration for the high school. On April 21st, students from the Tomorrow's Teachers class participated in the Bergen County Equity Think Tank and earned the Creative Problem Solvers Award, working with peers from across the county at Maryland College. Students identified an equity issue in their school community and created a plan to address it. On April 22nd, students enrolled in the Tomorrow's Teachers program shadowed their mentor teachers at Stockholm schools. This was an opportunity for student cadets to actually assist in the classrooms. On April 25th, the variety show showcased student talent with musical performances. On April 28th, the high school celebrated our student athletes on signing day as they committed to continuing their academic and athletic careers at the collegiate level. In honor of Law Day on May 1st, we are pleased to welcome Judge Suarez to speak with our students. The presentation offered a meaningful look into the judicial system and helped students better understand the role of the court in our societies.
Like 3 times.
Let's move now to the superintendent report.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome
meeting, public hearing on the budget. Before we get to our budget, we do have two smaller items to report. On the agenda tonight is the spring bus evacuation report for the school year, and also we have the self-assessment for determining grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. This is from last school year, 24-25. We submitted our self-assessment last year. The state reviewed it. They just sent this back to us, so it's on our website if you want to look at it in more detail. The score are out of 78, that's the highest you can get. Shaler is 77 out of 78. Bergen, 77 out of 78. Slocum, 71 out of 78. And RMHS, 75 out of 78. So great job by all our staff, by our administration, by our team with that. Next up, we have a budget presentation. You ready? All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to have my back at times to the community as I present this to the board and to the community as well. Welcome to our public hearing. This is the end of our budget cycle for this school year. We started this process in probably mid-October, maybe late October. Kelvin and myself worked with our administrative team, and it's progressed all the way through. We had a preliminary budget approved, and before that, we got our state aid. A little bit later this year than is typical. We got our state aid in the beginning of March, or the middle of March even. We had our preliminary budget March 16th. That was approved by the board. It was sent to the county. It was approved by the county. We've made some amendments to that budget that was approved that we will present tonight. And then if it's approved tonight, we will resend it to the county. It will get posted on our website. Our new budget year will be July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. So these are our budget priorities this year. This is what we hope to accomplish. It was a very difficult budget year for Ridgefield, for Bergen County, for New Jersey, perhaps the entire country. But our budget priorities are on here. This is what we do, step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm not going to read them for you, so you see right there. Essentially, what we tried to do was, when we had staff members, we knew we were going to be a tough budget situation. As staff members were tired, we tried our best to not rehire or replacement. In some cases, we have to do so because we have some special needs programs where we have specialized teachers teaching them, and they have to be replaced. In other areas, we have more generalized teachers where we feel as though we can do more with less. And I'll get to that in a couple more slides. So the budget challenges this year, I'm sure you've seen the headlines in the Record and Star Ledger, across the state, the Asbury Park Press, every newspaper you can see in the state. Health benefit costs rose dramatically. For Ridgefield, it was 32% year over year, which is, every dollar we spent last year, this year, we'll be spending $1.32 next year. So our revenues just don't keep pace with that. On top of that, our employee benefits contribution, this is how much our staff pay into their health benefits, that decreased by a significant amount. So our costs went up, but the money we received to offset those health benefit costs went down dramatically. Our utility costs, I'm sure you see this in your homes. We had a cold winter. Our utility costs are rising, whether that's bad weather, whether that's this new AI demand, I really don't know. But I look at our bills every month, and they are higher than they were last year. That's utilities. Our general goods and services, essentially every single thing we purchase next year is going to cost more than it did this year.
Can you talk into the mic closer?
Paper, pencils, computers, you name it. Everything we do is going to cost more year over year. Transportation costs are likewise through the roof. Special education cost pressures, one student that perhaps moves into the district tomorrow could be sent to an out-of-district school or is already placed in an out-of-district school at an annual tuition of maybe $80,000, and to transport the student to the school could be another $40,000. That just happens all the time. That's one student. It could be $120,000 just for one student. We get very little back from the state in that instance. We get some back, but not a lot. Okay, so budget reductions, just to bring this budget to the board tonight. It is a balanced budget, it has to be. It could not be submitted to the county and to the state if it wasn't balanced. But we made approximately $2 million in reductions in addition to raising our taxes. We had to decrease our expenditures, but increase our revenues. Okay? Slide. All right. So we haven't done our middle school, high school. It's a little different because they're departmentalized. You have math, English, science, the teachers, the kids move classes. But our projected class size for next year is manageable at the elementary level. So as you can see where these are the number of students in the left-hand column. The middle column, class sections, this year we had 5 in those sections, so class sizes were exceedingly small. And next year we're going to have 4 sections across the board. So as you can see, the class sizes range from about 19 to 23 from K to 5. We don't know high school yet, middle school, those are much tougher to project. You don't know who's signing up for which level classes, but as soon as we have that, we'll certainly share with the board and with the community. But class sizes are manageable at Shaler, Bergen, and Slocum, K to 5.
All right, so we're gonna talk numbers now. The fun part. So the total budgetary per pupil cost for the 26-27 school year is going to be projected at approximately $29,000 to educate each student in Ridgefield. The largest portion of this spending continues to be in classroom instruction. That's costing over $16,000 per student out of the $29,000. So that's over 50%. Support services is costing approximately $7,000 per student. Administrative and operation services are costing close to $3,000 each per student per year. And co-curricular and legal services make up the rest with a combined $698 per student. So this chart right here provides a breakdown of the overall expenditures. So approximately 30% supports special education programs. Employee benefits are accounting for 26% of the budget. Regular programs, 23%. Operation and maintenance, 8%. Administrative services make up 7%, and support services make up 6%. As Dr. Animon said, one of the most significant drivers for the budget is the health benefits cost. For 26-27, we budgeted approximately 33% increase for medical benefits, 30% for prescription benefits. The district's responsibility for these health benefits will exceed $10 million next year. That's about $2.5 million increase from the current year now. The increase is driven by 2 factors, which is the surging premiums and also, again, the reduction in contributions that we're receiving from employees to offset the cost of benefits. So if you look at the chart, for next year, the district is picking up 91% of the benefits cost, and we are receiving 9% of the total cost from the employee contributions. So this slide outlines the district's revenue sources for the 26-27 school year. The largest revenue source continues to be the local tax levy at 27.9 million. Tuition revenue from our magnet school program represents over $8.3 million, followed by state aid at approximately $4.4 million. Other local sources, which include withdrawal from our capital reserve, tuition reserve, and maintenance reserve accounts, and miscellaneous revenue, those are projected to come in at $4.1 million. We used $2.3 million in fund balance, and federal aid is projected to come in at $840,000. So this slide provides both a revenue percentage breakdown and a detailed analysis of state aid. Overall, the district experienced a net decrease in state aid of approximately $42,000, while our equalization aid increased significantly. That increase was offset by the major reduction in special education aid, security aid, and transportation aid. Special education aid decreased by approximately 40%, security aid by 30%, and transportation aid decreased by 18%. This chart illustrates the district's state aid history over the last 10 years. So as you can see, the state aid has fluctuated significantly over time. While the district experienced increases in recent years, aid levels remain unpredictable and difficult to rely upon for long-term financial planning. So this slide compares the current budget year to the proposed 26-27 budget. The total proposed budget for next year is approximately $48.9 million, and that represents an overall increase of approximately $267,000. And although the districts qualify for a larger healthcare adjustment due to rising health benefits costs, we intentionally chose not to collect debt service taxes from the taxpayers. Debt service will be funded by the district's capital reserve account. So as a result of not collecting the debt service taxes, the effective healthcare adjustment impact is reduced by approximately $441,000. So the total proposed budget for next year consists of three primary funds. The general fund at approximately $47.7 million. The special revenue fund at approximately $773,000. Debt service fund at approximately $700,000. And again, overall, the proposed budget for this year, along with the cuts that we made, it's only increasing expenditures by $267,000. And I think this is what most of you are waiting for. So this slide summarizes the estimated impact on the taxpayers. The general fund tax levy will increase by $518,000, which is the allowable 2%. The district also received approval for a healthcare cost adjustment of $1.4 million. So with that being said, for the average homeowner with an assessed home value of approximately $683,000, the estimated annual increase for school taxes is approximately $417 or $35 per month. And that's all I have. So we'll take any questions and comments now? From the board, yes.
move to comments on the board members about the budget amendment, so. Anything?
Am I recognized? Yeah, so I just wanted to make a statement on the budget. Thank you, Mr. President. I will be supporting tonight's budget because I believe the alternative of having the budget vote fail would be worse for the district and cause more uncertainty. For me, I approached this budget in an objective manner, as objectively as I could. In an ideal year, we would keep every staff member, protect every program, and provide every employee with job security. These are people's livelihoods, and that matters to a lot to me, and I'm sure to a lot of you. But we're not in that ideal situation, and difficult sacrifices have to be made. That said, I do have concerns about the process and some of the choices in this budget. First, this process was made harder by some of the misinformation and unclear communication, and I don't fault anyone for that. I don't think there's like a bad intent. But however, at times I heard claims about actions that the board was supposedly taking, and as a board member, I was surprised by that because I had no knowledge of them. In several cases, those claims were not true, and there was a lot of rumors flying around. So, and that created unnecessary confusion for the board, administration, staff, and public. If we face similar budget pressures in the future, especially from rising health benefits, which could be the case, or other major cost increases, I think we should communicate more clearly and make accurate information available sooner to all parties. Second, I want to better understand what sacrifices are being made at the central office level. We know the impact this budget has on building staff, teachers, support staff, and students. So I believe it's fair to ask what steps central office has taken to share in those sacrifices, and I'm sure sacrifices were taken. Third, another concern I have is the possible consolidation of AP and honors classes. Based on our conversations, I understand that final decisions have not been made yet about which specific classes will be consolidated, if I'm not mistaken. But it is hard for me to see how this would work in practice because AP and honors classes have different curriculum and different timelines on what they have to run on. For instance, AP courses would have to complete by mid-May due to AP testing, while honors courses can have a slower pace since they would have to end towards the end of June. And I know that there's a lot of confusion about the scheduling at the high school and for both students and teachers to prepare for the next school year. So I hope we can get that clarity resolved as soon as possible. And before any final decisions are made about the consolidation of classes, I hope we pursue solutions that are actually workable and include input from key stakeholders, especially from teachers who teach those classes. On that point, I also think we should look at alternatives. Bergen Community College has a program called the Bergen Experience, where high school students can take BCC courses and earn college credits. It is similar to the early college program, but instead students in the Bergen Experience program wouldn't be pursuing an associate's degree, allowing for more flexibility in what classes they want to take there. Based on my experience taking both online and in-person BCC classes as an early college program student, I think this is something worth exploring as we consider the class consolidation. Fourth, I remain opposed to pausing certain winter sports at the high school, even for one season. I raised this concern repeatedly in committee and in private conversations with the administration. High school sports are different from middle school sports. For some students, high school sports can create college recruitment opportunities. For others, they're an extracurricular activity for college applications and personal development. I think pausing certain winter sports even for one season would do a disservice to those students. From my understanding, the savings of pausing certain winter sports at the high school would be about $42,000, and would reduce the tax levy increase by only 0.2% if we indeed pause them. Given the lasting impact on students, I believe it's worth finding a way to keep those winter sports in the budget, and I want to ask if there's a way we could amend the budget and the tax levy increase to allow all winter sports to continue. So ultimately, I'm supporting this budget because I believe it is the more responsible option under the circumstances, but we are facing two pretty not so good options. But I'm also asking that these concerns be immediately addressed. That means providing clearer communication to the public, explaining what sacrifices are being made at the central office, reviewing any AP and honors classes consolidations before final decisions are made, and including key stakeholders, and seriously reconsidering whether high school winter sports can be preserved, and seeing if there's any other solutions to the decrease of enrollment into special education, which I understand that's a key driver of the budget challenges. So I do want to ask the attorney, if we pass the budget today, would there be like a mechanism for us to, in the future, to fund winter sports, supplemental funding, as best possible after we pass the budget?
Yeah, and then also, that really is, business administrators, well, line transfers can be made within a budget. The budget is just a projection of, the future. And when you have things within the budget, there can be line transfers of money, depending on, the use of funds in other areas.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like we could have an exit-gram, basically, if we pass the budget and see if we could.
There still are methods that the business administrator would.
And I ask unanimous consent to insert my statement as prepared into the record. And can you upload it onto the board docs too?
Yeah, it'll be part of the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to give a chance to Mr. Jacob. He has a comment. Follow.
Hi, good evening, friends and relatives and Board of Education trustees. Tonight, I speak not only as a trustee of the Ridgefield Board of Education, but also as a proud resident and a taxpayer. Tonight, we're being asked to make one of the most important decisions any Board of Education can make, the adoption of our 2026-2027 budget. And let me be clear by saying something, there is no perfect budget. As both a board member and a taxpayer, I feel the pain of every resident, all right? Just like I understand the pressures of our families are under, and I never take lightly the responsibility that we have to the hardworking taxpayers of Ridgefield. However, we must also deal with a reality. The original budget presented to this board reflected a 9.9% increase, driven primarily by one factor. We had absolutely no control over a 32% increase in healthcare costs. This number was not created by this board. It was not created by this administration. It was imposed upon us. And since that time, significant work has been done to reduce the impact on our taxpayers, bringing the current proposal down to approximately 7.5%. But what some of my colleagues understand is if this budget would fail this evening, we automatically lose control of our school's district financial future. At this point, the Bergen County Executive Superintendent, together with the New Jersey Commissioner of Education, assumes the authority over our budget, and I say our budget. They could reduce the budget. They could approve the current submission this evening, or require us to return to the original 9.9% budget, the very same budget that this board previously approved unanimously. Once that happens, this board no longer has the final say. And everybody, one of the most important principles in public education is local control. We were elected to make these difficult decisions here in Ridgefield and not to turn them over to the state. And tonight is not about politics. It's not about personal positions. It's about responsibility. And we have a fiduciary obligation to our students, to our staff, to our community, and the taxpayers who entrust us with that responsibility. So for that reason, I will be voting yes this evening on the budget. I believe we cannot gamble with an outcome that could result in even greater financial consequences for the residents of Richfield and complete loss of local control. Thank you.
Mr. Jacob, can you give that to Calvin to have it
For the record.
May I say something? I'd like to second a lot of the sentiments that Mr. Joe shared. I think that there was a lot of misinformation flying around and a lot of rumors flying around. I think that both with the preliminary budget and then now tonight, there's an element of stress over time and deadlines of we are out of time, we have to make a decision right now. And it feels very uncomfortable. I know several of us have commented to each other throughout the last 2 months about losing sleep over this. And it feels like, you know, Mr. Jacobs' comments that it was unanimously approved under the stress of a deadline told we had no other options and not explained what the consequences were of approving that or not. We were specifically told at that meeting we could make changes up until and even then at the May meeting. So I'm very curious to hear the answer to all of Mr. Joe's questions. I think he raises really valid questions, and it seems like there's a serious communication problem here.
We worked tirelessly on this budget on the Operations and Finance Committee. I missed last meeting because I had other obligations, but that doesn't mean that we weren't meeting quite a bunch of times to discuss the budget, all of us, to make sure, we brought something forward that's gonna be good for the students, the administration, and the taxpayers. So I'm supporting this budget because this is the right budget, and this is at no fault to anybody here. State benefits is broken. I have said this many times, and we're working with what we have, and I'm proud. Now I'm going to say we're going to support this budget because we did the best we can. Okay?
Thank you, Theo. So I do have a question for Calvin. Like, can you explain to the public how the increased health insurance costs affect the budget? And also the rumors, why can't we get out of the state insurance? That's one of the things that said, oh, we could just get out. And so explain it in simple terms that everybody.
So the increases are obviously come from the state health benefits. They impose the premiums that we pay. The system is broken. Hopefully they fix it soon because it's really becoming unsustainable, not just for Ridgefield, but for every district in the state health benefits. We've been trying to get out of the state health benefits as far as 2021. Prior VAs have tried to get out of the state health benefits. I've been trying to get out of the state health benefits for the past 2 years. However, we have a really bad experience rating. The experience rating means that the insurance is close to or already losing money on the premium that we are paying to keep our insurance. Until that experience rating becomes better, there's no insurance company that's willing to take us on as a client because unfortunately for them, the profits will not be big enough or worth, having us as a client. So that's pretty much where we are. We've ordered the experience rating report from the state 3 times already this school year alone, hoping that the numbers improve so that our insurance broker can go out to the insurance companies and shop our group to see if anyone is willing to take us on in the hope that we could get cheaper premiums that would lower the cost, not just for the Board of Ed, but also lower the cost for whatever contributions employees are making towards health benefits. So it's a situation that's really out of our control right now.
Point of information, could you clarify what you mean by shop hour group? What is the group?
Our district health benefits.
Thank you.
When you go for an experience rating, how much each time?
$2,000.
$2,000 every time we order the experience rating.
So we had to take a pause for a while. because we've
Yeah,
been
it's-
running it.
Right, so actually right now, currently, the last time I did order it, it was sent to our insurance broker. They're working again on trying to get quotes from insurance companies, because the numbers are slightly better. I personally don't think that that's gonna do enough to get us out, but it's not for lack of trying.
Does anyone have any other comments on healthcare or?
I have a question. I've seen in other states, I don't know of any districts in New Jersey specifically, that some districts co-opt together into a larger group, like if 3 districts go together and they're smaller, then they are a bigger group with a bigger bargaining power and
Yeah,
hopefully a
that's,
better average.
yeah, so that's called the health insurance fund. And it's exactly like you said, a whole bunch of, districts come together and then they just pretty much share the costs or the benefits between all of them. Unfortunately, we reached out to a couple of hits, a few hits actually in New Jersey, and none of them were takers either.
Any questions on health insurance?
Ralph, I just like to piggyback on what Kelvin said. 2021, I was the president of the Ridgefield Board of Education, and yes, we did raise the alarm to get out of the state health fund. But again, as our BA said, we were toxic. Nobody would touch us. And it's not for lack of trying, but the key driver here is the experience rating. If I pay you $1, and I cost you $1.40, you're not gonna do business with me. So, this administration, this central office, has consistently tried to outsource healthcare. But as long as the constant is a poor experience rating, basically we are locked in a system that is broken and what the state calls a death spiral. Thank you.
So I do have thank you, Mr. Jacob. I do have another question to come to Kelvin. What measures are you taking, or we are taking altogether, that we don't sit here a year from now with the same issue? Is there anything that we could do starting tomorrow, or starting after the budget, to prevent tomorrow? I know the insurance will go up, whatever, but
Yeah, so I mean, right now we are, budgeting on the revenue side, we're budgeting very conservatively. And we're just basically throughout the year, we're going to try to lower expenditures as much as we can and do a lot of forecasting to see where we're going to be, within the next few years. One of the factors that make forecasting hard for us to do is basically the uncertainty of state aid. We never know if we're gonna get cut, we never know if we're gonna get more. Unfortunately for us, the past 3 years we've gotten cut. So it's challenging to forecast when you don't know what those numbers are going to be, and it changes year to year. This year we lucked out, we only experienced a $42,000 reduction, but the prior year to that it was $300,000, and prior to that was another $300,000. So we're just hoping that going forward we don't experience those cuts again. But we are definitely looking at every penny we spend to make sure that we're not overspending on any of the account lines, and we don't overspend on what was already budgeted for.
I know that Theo has been very vocal on having a 3 to 4 year forecast budget. And the state aid only, it is a factor, but you can't, remember, you can't go more than 6 or less than 3. So we could go in the middle and go estimate the lowest one and do that, right?
Right. Well, that was the past 2 years. That has been what both governors, that's what they given district as almost an indication so that they can plan better, but it doesn't mean that those will be the same parameters that we're dealing with, going forward. And another thing is that the state aid figures, they come out very late. They usually come out in February. We have to submit a budget to the county usually by the second week of March. So it really gives us no room to, make many adjustments after we get these numbers. But yeah, we're on top of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will not be here next year again, but it's hard to say right now.
Yeah, if we do a forecast like Theo was mentioning, for 3-4 years ahead, and put the worst
Right.
scenario, yeah, we could be totally transparent where we are.
Right.
So I do have a last question about the banquet program. How does that affect the loan enrollments affecting the budget?
So what's
Is it
that?
worth keeping? That's what that a resident at country
Right.
asked.
So the magnet school program, via the tuition that we charge to sending districts, it supports a lot of the operations financially of the school district. A study was done a few years ago with the same question. Our audit firm did do an audit to see if it was worth keeping the program. And basically, if we would have stopped the program at that point, the district would have been bankrupt. That's how important that tuition revenue that we receive is. What's happening lately is that we are losing enrollment in the magnet school program, so obviously less revenue. And a lot of these students are either that are getting pulled out of the program are either going back to their sending district, or they're actually moving to Ridgefield. So when they move to Ridgefield, we basically have a double whammy because we lose the revenue, and then we also have to pay, or we have to spend Ridgefield tax dollars in educating these kids, because legally we have to educate them. So we're pretty much at this point getting hit, from both sides when they move into Ridgefield. The last couple of months, the numbers are slightly increasing, not anywhere near what we budgeted for this year, but definitely better than where we were, let's say in January, February. So I'm hoping that that trend continues into next year and we start getting a lot more of that tuition revenue.
I know that our magnet program is one of the best in the Bergen. So
Yes.
maybe a suggestion is to do more marketing, more promotion of the good that we're doing.
Right,
Actually,
and-
that would be
Yes.
my suggestion.
No, and we did some marketing this year, and I do believe that that's what led to the increases, the slight increase that we've seen this year. So, but it's an ongoing thing, so we're gonna keep marketing, we're gonna keep promoting, in the hopes that we attract more students, and keep that revenue.
Thank you. Any more questions?
So I know, just on the special ed, is there anything else other than marketing we're doing to alleviate the cost pressure, or is marketing really the primary strategy to alleviate the cost pressure?
There's not much that we can do because the laws around educating special education students is very, very tight. There's no, much wiggle room.
Yeah.
What we try to do is, if we have Ridgefield students, we try to keep them in district as much as we can because it's cheaper than obviously sending them out to, a private special ed school or another special ed school. So that keeps our costs, low. And I think the special education department does a really good job to only send out those students that it's just, we're not adequate to educate because of, whatever issues they may have.
Thank you. And my other question was, I know I brought this up in one of my comments, about the scheduling in the high school and how there's uncertainty in the scheduling for the next school year. I was wondering when the students and the teachers can get that certainty, especially for the advanced classes, the APs and the honors classes, the dual enrollments, like when they could get the certainty that those classes will be offered next school year, and because I understand that this was one of the main concerns for many people.
So for this question, I'll defer to Dr. Anamona, Dr. Vanagas.
Well, step one is get the budget passed, and then we'll work on finalizing the schedules for everybody between tomorrow and ASAP, really, at this point.
And, yeah, so, thank you.
Mr. President? I'd just like to make a statement in really broad strokes. The healthcare problem is systemic throughout New Jersey. It doesn't help us, but I have in front of me, and I'd like to enter that into the record, a letter from the New Jersey Leadership for Educational Excellence Association group, which comprises NJSBA, board members, NJEA, our teachers, NJASBO, our BAs, NJASA, our superintendents, NJPTA, the PTAs, and NJPSA, which is our principals and supervisors. This is a letter from April 22nd of 2026 from the Lee Group, which is the acronym for what I just said, addressed to Governor Mikey Sherrill, expressing our concerns for the increased cost in healthcare to the point where it's getting intolerable. So again, this is not a feel-good moment, just to let you know that there's a lot of action beginning, and we'll call this in plain layman's terms, a lot of firepower. So Kevin, can I enter this into the record, please? Thank you.
Any other questions?
So I know, just a kind of a follow-up on my question about the class scheduling. Could you guarantee the class size
So,
will be
after,
adequate?
no, like Hanuman said that after the budget, we will look at
Okay.
it, so I don't think it's, adequate.
Yeah, but at least would you say the class size would be manageable for the teachers as well as the students?
That's our hope. I mean, we certainly don't want to have unmanageable class size. I think they'll be very manageable. I think they'll be similar to elementary, but you're always going to have the one class that is very popular and really oversubscribed, and you might have another one that is less popular, more undersubscribed. It could be an elective class, it could be a world language, it could be anything. They don't always break out evenly. Like fourth graders, you just put equal number of students in the classes. Middle school, high school, it's a little bit more tricky.
I know the different levels of math in the high school.
Different levels. One year you have sophomores where a lot of them are in honors. The next year, the sophomore class, maybe it's fewer in honors. It changes year to year.
Okay.
It's a balancing act. We'll do it as soon as we can. I think they'll be manageable. But again, if there's a hiccup, a spike here or there, it's just part of the unfortunate nature of making the cuts. Like you said, I think you said it. We don't want to make cuts, but we have to. So this is what happens when you make some cuts.
Thank you.
We're on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would still like to hear answers to two of Mr. Joe's earlier questions. The first being what, if any, cuts were made at the top. That's the number one question I get out on the street. I don't know, because I'm not on the committee, so I would really like to hear that.
What do you mean specifically?
I don't remember how you phrase it. Yeah, at the central office or at the upper echelons away from from direct student contact.
Well, everything is student contact, whether it's direct or indirect.
Okay.
So we've made a lot of cuts to our software programs that I use, that Dr. DePass uses. Indirectly worked with students. I know Lincoln came up last time. People say it's not student facing, but it is. It helps students, it helps teachers, I think, because that's their benchmark exam. But it helps myself, Dr. DePass, as we see how our students are doing. Standardized tests come out once a year, and by the time we get the results back, it's August. So if I want to know how a fifth grader is doing, I may get the results back in August, and it's like, fifth grade's over, he's going to middle school. It doesn't really help. So I'll just use Lincoln as an example. That's something we can benchmark through the year. So we've made reductions, not specifically with Lincoln, but with other programs that I think are not in the best interest of students, but again, had to be made in just a really difficult budget, so.
And the other question he asked was, can amendments still be proposed tonight?
So, Mr. Joe, emailed me, the tax levy on this budget is 7.5%. If I'm hearing you correctly, you wish to raise it to 7.7%.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that question. I suppose it can be done. I mean, it's America, anything can be done. I don't know that it should be done, but if you want to do it, I think maybe that's a discussion with the board.
Is your question in relation to sports? So, couldn't we look at the winter sports that had to get cut, doing a collaboration with other districts?
There's a million things we can do.
All right, okay, I mean, to satisfy that question,
Sure.
could we look at that?
But we're always looking to, they call it a co-op. We're always looking to co-op with sports because you divide the cost in half between Richfield and Powell Park. Richfield,
I'm gonna be honest.
Leonia.
Your 30,000 for winter sports, I'd rather get a teacher that was cut.
Well, that's, part of the
That's all I'm saying.
give
I'm
and
just
take.
saying,
of
give and
major board.
take.
I understand.
I'd rather the teacher, if we could do a collab with the winter sport.
I think the budget presented is, it's tough. It was a tough budget. This is the 15th budget I've done. The toughest one of my career. Tougher than the COVID ones, tougher than anything. In a nutshell, we've got this, I left a handout on the table. About maybe a month ago or so, we got a notification from Moody's Bond Service. They upgraded Richfield's credit rating to the top tier. What does this mean day to day? If we were gonna take out a loan to, I don't know, build a new school or something, which we're not, but if we were gonna take out a loan, we would get a better interest rate. But the basic, the biggest takeaway is our district finances, thanks to Kelvin, are in terrific shape as guaranteed by Moody's. This is a legitimate Wall Street firm, so I think our finances are great. Look at Dr. DePass, the work she does with our academics, our teachers, our principals. I think our academics are great. I think our related arts, our clubs, everything we do is very good. The budget presented now, it just has a lot of money in health benefits that we didn't want to have to spend, but we do. We have to spend it. So I think the budget presented at 7.5% is $400 a month extra on the average household. I think it's fair to the district. I think it's fair to the taxpayers, fair to students, parents, staff, administration, seniors. It's a fair budget. I wouldn't recommend changing it tonight.
I'm not that's why I was asked. I frame my question could we have an exit ramp maybe in the future if you're able to
So Kelvin and I meet weekly to go over our budget, and something could break our way, next Tuesday for next year, where we have another retirement that we didn't expect, or one of our students that I mentioned before is at a district that it costs $100,000. That student might move to, down the shore somewhere, and then we get that money back on our budget. So it's always possible. Things change, literally day to day.
Right.
And that's why we meet once a week on Mondays to go over our budget. So we'll be on the lookout for any possible savings, or things we can bring back to the budget.
And I saw this is an idea I talked with Calvin earlier with was I saw an interesting Instagram reel where Stockton University was I think it was Stockton University or some university in New Jersey was lending their facilities for the FIFA as a FIFA World Cup practice facility. I was wondering I just wanted to present this idea to all the board members and also some of the council members that
It's not an option. FIFA selected, sorry, am I allowed to just?
I think I can say, we'd love to have it, any
Okay.
professional teams practice at Willis Field. There was an article in the paper maybe a day or two ago where they announced a couple of spots, the governor announced it. One was at Stockton, one was at Pingree, a private school in Morris County. I don't know once, but I don't believe Ridgefield was selected.
I heard from a reliable source, it's not an option.
Yeah.
and I just wanted to say know that.
Sorry.
So, thank you. And then just my final question, I promise. At what point will we get for the sake of trying to get the certainty for the people who are going to be affected by the cuts? At what point would they get the certainty of which specific club, for example, or which specific class or program will need to be cut or consolidated or?
Well, we haven't approved the budget yet, so
Yeah.
once we approve the budget, we do have reductions in clubs, that is in here. Which ones we have to go through to see which are the least populated, I suppose. So we have a club with 4 members, and we have another one with 44 members. It would make more sense to cut the one that has only 4. So we'll have to go out and collecting basically attendance and registration for each club to see where we can maybe get, spend our money more efficiently.
Thank you. Go back.
I believe Patrick, there's a
Yeah.
bring that up.
I have another question. So several people have made comments tonight that we're likely going to be in a continued state of deficit next year. It's gonna be challenging next year as well. Anything that is getting paused, getting cut, getting taken away, it's gonna be difficult a year later to see if there's any, continuity to bring people back. But in terms of sports that might get paused, in terms of classes that might get cut, in terms of programs, anything like that, are you planning on budgeting next year? That's why I'm looking at you, Mr. Hessiano, because I'm specifically directing the question to you. Are you planning on building next year's budget on if we could get everything back, let's see, or are we gonna continue with, we're in this starvation period until we've trimmed the fat for a couple of years? Like, what is the expectation here of how much this is gonna affect somebody who maybe only has 3 years left in this district until their graduation or until they move on?
The hope is that we could bring everything back. But again, the uncertainty with, state.
I can't sit here and say, yeah, we're gonna bring it back, but obviously if we are seeing more revenue where we could bring these things back, we'll work hard to bring them back, but it's not, I can promise that.
I think I maybe worded that a little ambiguously. Is there a priority list? And if there is a priority list of what to bring back first, if there's a little wiggle room next year, which stakeholders have the biggest input and will, get to weigh in on that priority list? Because everybody in this room, I'm sure, has different priorities of what they put at the top of that list to bring back. If we suddenly found, if we suddenly got $200,000 back tomorrow, I think everybody here would probably have a different answer of what to do with it.
Right, so I believe administration will meet, evaluate, will bring it to the appropriate committee. That committee will bring it to the board, and then, we'll go from there.
I think Theo has another question.
Yeah, I just want to say, the goal is to try and bring everything back, but, the town also needs ratables. Now, I know people are scared of change, but we need to adapt, and we need to bring in ratables. So if the ratables stay the same, the taxpayer is going to be paying more. We need more ratables. So it's not on every single homeowner. We need to create more housing. We need to create more properties. This falls on the council to make those decisions, see what they do.
Any other comments? All right. Let's go now to, okay, let's open the public comment, on the budget only,
Motion?
Second. Guys, if you want to talk about the budgets, now's the time. Yes, Noreen, I see.
Sheila Hoffman, 820.
That's on.
Oh, she needs help with her hands. She's recovering from something. Sheila Hoffman, 823 Linden Avenue. So, several times I've come up and I've asked questions and you just stare at me. So there's a lot of things I haven't seen from the administration and from the board members. For example, we spent a lot of money on solar panels. Are we realizing any savings at all control on our electric bills. When I asked the question 2 months ago, you looked at me. Now you're telling us, oh, those costs went up. We have to increase our taxes. When we ask about looking at alternatives for different programs, oh, we'll push that down the road. So what I'm seeing is a lot of, we'll move it down the road. So now you want us, the taxpayers, to make up for the deficits. But what are the kids getting out of this? What I'm hearing is you're pausing some sports, you're consolidating some classes. So I'm paying an extra $500 to $600 a year. You're laying off teachers. Who's winning in this? I don't see anybody winning. And I don't see any cuts being made that are positive changes. I see you saying, oh, we'll push it to the taxpayer. And I believe you're incorrect, Mr. Jacobs. If it goes to board, the county has several options, and it doesn't necessarily take it out of your control. However, now is not the time for you to decide to answer. Because when I asked the questions, what are we doing about different things, you sat there and you looked at me. When the teacher stood up here and said, you're cutting teachers' jobs, what about administrative jobs? You sat there and you looked at them. When we lost money 2 years ago, you went to the politicians. A lot of the districts in the state, I'm following online, they're going to their politicians. They're demanding additional money from the state. I don't see any of that happening in Ridgefield. So I can see a lot of things we're not doing, other than pushing it out to the taxpayer and saying, pay $500 more. Well, you know, $500 more is still $500. You're not, I don't see when Mr. Joe asked, what are you doing with these? You're ignoring his comments. You're pushing it down the road again.
Carlos Luciano, 956 Elm Avenue. I am a junior at Richfield Memorial High School, the junior class officer in the Student Council Committee, and the junior class president. I'm here to share my concerns about the budget cuts and to inform the board how these cuts and decisions are affecting student life and the learning atmosphere within the high school. A common question is, how much does the district pay for educational software? Specifically programs like Alex, Memby, Norwood Inc., Achieve, and Lincoln. All of these programs cost money and many of them are not cheap. After COVID, education has shifted towards online learning, with students spending countless hours on screens and relying more on Wi-Fi and computers than pencils and papers, which has affected focus and concentration. Students have been so used to quick digital assignments, shortcuts to complete work, and short online lessons that they struggle to give educators their full attention and efforts during instruction. As we know, a lot of staff members will not be renewed for the following year. In simpler terms, many educators will lose their jobs and have to go through the process of finding new employment. This impacts both staff and students, especially as money in the Board of Education is being spent on non-essential areas. Our math department has only 4 instructors. How will the school fit every math class with so few teachers, or maintain proper class sizes and advanced course offerings? Why doesn't the board look into cutting the educational software instead of cutting educators? Everything accomplished through these software programs can be accomplished in the classroom through the teacher at no additional cost. In fact, a lot of teachers are requested to incorporate certain softwares into their curriculum and daily instruction, not because they want to, but because they have to. A lot of students, like myself, do not see the importance of these softwares and agree that these programs should have been the first thing cut, even before considering cutting staff and personnel. Alex, for example, is a math program assigned by teachers in which students complete different mathematical topics. However, everything done in Alex can also be taught directly in the classroom. I don't know exactly how much the program costs, but it is definitely not cheap. In addition, many students rely on outside sources to complete their Alex topics, which defeats the purpose of the program. Another great example is Membing and No Reading, which are used in many English classes. Just like Alex, these programs are often relied on because the district pays for them, not because they provide major educational benefits. With Membing, teachers can instead teach vocabulary directly from literature students are reading and assess students in the class at the appropriate educational level. No Reading is mainly used for prompts, open-ended questions, and writing assignments, but we already have free tools like Google Docs and Google Classrooms for that. There are also other software programs like Linkit that add to the unnecessary district spending. Instead of paying for multiple platforms, those funds could be reinvested into teacher-created assessments within the district. This would give educators a clear understanding of student performance without relying on outside software. Given that we spend on electronic and educational technology programs, we can invest those funds in better things. We are prioritizing software programs over in-person interaction with teachers, social interactions, and the well-being of students. Everything achieved through these programs can easily be achieved without technology. We will get the same results, if not better, through in-class assignments that challenge the same critical thinking skills within students. I find these expenditures completely unreasonable, and I think the money going into these programs should be used for better things. In addition, through the past board meetings and updates shared by the student liaison, I learned that everything is on the table for cuts, including clubs and extracurriculars. Our student council elections have been postponed due to these budget cuts. And as the junior officer, I am tremendously worried about that student council may not be renewed for next year. I have worked with my student council committee throughout the year to address our deficit in school spirit and make students excited to come to RMHS. The senior class officer, Erica Ruiz, and I organized the winter prep rally with the student council and the athletic director, Mr. Romeo, and it received very positive feedback. Now we need to continue spreading that spirit throughout RMHS, and I am very confident that these budget cuts will hold us back and will cause a barrier from that increase of school spirit within the school. The school has seen so many improvements throughout the student council. We do monthly push-ins asking the student body what they like about our schools, as well as asking for ways to improve the environment around us, and we have brought so much change. Without these clubs, there wouldn't be any improvements to the school whatsoever. The student body would not have anyone to express their concerns to, and the educational environment would not feel comforting and welcoming at all. Our liaison, Chris Chaw, does an excellent job representing the student body at the board meetings, and that cannot be taken away. The board needs to realize that these cuts are affecting not only teachers and taxpayers, but also students and the atmosphere within our schools. If we're seeing these trends in high school, other schools like Slocum and Bergen may be experiencing very similar issues as well. In closing, I ask the board to reconsider what is truly being prioritized during these budget cuts. Education is built on teachers, student interactions, and opportunities that create positive learning environment, not just technology and software programs. As students, we are the ones directly affected by these decisions every day, and I hope the board considers our concern before continuing cuts that may negatively impact the educational experience and atmosphere within our schools. Thank you.
Anthony Pantaleone, 560 Oakton Avenue, Ridgefield, New Jersey. So, like, a lot to like what Carlos said, we use a lot of the budget and the money for these educational programs like No Reading, Common Lit, IXL, like the list goes on, Alex, Memby. But these websites, we're choosing to cut our teachers who we actually have relationships with over the AI programs. Like, we want the personal relationship, not these websites. We'd rather see a site, no offense, Dr. Anima, I know you were talking about how No Rent helps our schools, but honestly, I don't try on them. So to me, it's false data, and I don't think our district needs them. And I think I'd rather see, as like Ms. Ferdinand put it in one of the student council meetings, a site like no Reading gone over a teacher who I'm very close with. And like another thing too, if we're gonna be cutting teachers, we're also gonna be increasing class sizes, which was another thing brought up. We have 5 math teachers in our high school. One was already cut, so that means the class sizes next year for them, like in math classes, are automatically gonna rise. And that like, so for someone like me, I'm on the autism spectrum, so I really benefit from one-on-one support with teachers. And if that teacher's now cut, that's harder for me to get their attention and to build relationships with them, because now not only are they now helping about 20 students, now they have to help like 30 students. And the class could get even more chaotic, because now the chances are that now more like rowdy kids could be in the class. So I'm just saying, like before we're cutting teachers, where's other places we can cut? And I know it's very repetitive to what Carlos said, but I think a lot more the program should go, and I think there's a lot we don't need. And I think we should really, in this district, honestly, out of my 4 years in this high school, I think we really only need Google Classroom. And I just want to remind you with all these budget cuts, let's make sure we're cutting the right things and not the beneficial things. Thank you.
Joanna Congleton Haley, 475 Abbott Avenue, speaking to you tonight as a parent. I have a real concern when nobody on our current Board of Education, most of whom I like and respect, none of you have children in this school district. So when you're making decisions that directly impact my children, the children in this room, the educators in this room, that's concerning to me. When we have Board of Education members who don't have a basic understanding of the New Jersey curriculum standards, who have never had to teach senior English the week before spring break, who have never chaperoned a field trip with 100 first graders to the zoo, that was today. When we have Board of Education members who have never de-escalated a 5th grader in crisis to the point where you have to do a physical restraint. When we have Board of Education members who do not feel the pride that parents feel in this district when their children score their first goal, their first basket, make their personal best at a track meet. I'm concerned that you may not understand the impact of the decisions that you are making. I'm concerned that you do not understand the impact on an educator who dedicates their career to children in our community and finds out earlier this week that they're cut. To the students who have the relationships with that educator, who now find out that person's not going to be here next year. Don't know who's going to make a schedule because the person who made the schedule just got fired. So until you can sit here and tell me I've got children, this matters to me on a personal level, especially when not everybody up here is a taxpayer, and that's okay. But until you can sit there and tell me that we're doing this because of children, these cuts that directly impact my first grader, my second grader, my 4th grader, who will go from classrooms of 16 to 20, classrooms of 18 to 23. That's a lot of education. That's a big impact on my kids. That's a big impact on every child in this room. That's a big impact on the opportunities that matter to our community. Our indoor track team develops state champions every year. I know that because 23 years ago, I was on the first one. There is no reason why stakeholders who are educators are not part of this decision-making process. Why decisions are made by a committee that doesn't contain any educators. And until we listen to our community, until you understand the priorities of the community, it concerns me that decisions are being made and people are being cut, programs are being cut, opportunities are being cut. So if you want to know what it's like to be a teacher in this district, come on the first grade field trip. You wanna know what it's like to be a parent in this district? Show up to a track meet. You wanna know what it's like to actually make decisions and understand their impact? You listen to the 150 people in this room. And on the point of ratables, yes, ratables are great. They're not a magic buzzword that cures budgets. Also, keep in mind, when we overdevelop, we overcrowd. Look at every district in the area. So if we're going to say, yes, duplexes for everyone, and yes, everybody wants $1 million home, understand what that does to our community as well. Thank you.
Look, everybody's waiting for us anyway. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Good evening, Noreen Bradholt, 2 Douglas Court in Sussex. This evening, I'm speaking as both a teacher and a parent, and I want to start by discussing the budget process itself. Because for many of us in this audience, this has been one of the least transparent and most chaotic processes that we've experienced. Most of you know me as the president of the association, so you might not also realize that I'm an English teacher here in the high school. Being a word nerd, I would love to give you a little vocab lesson tonight. Transparency means the practice of openness, honesty, and clarity in your actions, in your communications, in your decisions. Being transparent allows information to be easily accessed and understood. And you know what? You should all be commended, because you mentioned transparency every board meeting that we have. So I appreciate that. The reality, though, is that throughout this process, I have repeatedly had to seek out and fact find and fact check information. I have had to follow up continually to ask for information. I've had to piece together details that should have been clearly communicated to stakeholders from the start. That is not a sustainable way to engage a community in decisions of this magnitude. Side note, being a type 2 district, tonight is the last night that we can have a budget hearing. So maybe canceling the March 26th meeting wasn't a great idea, because that gave us limited opportunity to hear from the public about their deep concerns with where we're spending money and how we're spending money. We're told that stakeholder input was valued and that stakeholder feedback would be part of the decision-making process. Again, the reality is that we've seen significant shifts in direction, including cuts that directly affect staff and students, without a clear explanation of how that input was ultimately weighed in final decisions. The district sends money, and when stakeholders have suggestions for streamlined approaches or cost savings, we're met with, oh, we did that in the past, it doesn't work, we're not gonna try it again. The document that we have tonight, that tells us nothing. That tells us nothing about how these cuts affect the day-to-day operations of our buildings and the impact on the people in this room. As I've said before, we continue to hear the word transparency, but many of the most consequential decisions have felt unclear and haphazard. As I've said before, reductions in staffing are not abstract. They're not expenditures. They mean larger class sizes, reduced access to advanced courses for our high-performing students, increased strain on educators and programs that are already stretched thin. This isn't clairvoyance. This isn't magic. This is just common sense, right? We can just tell that that is the natural consequence. I also want to acknowledge that we're asking this community to absorb an immense tax increase, which makes it even more important that we conduct ourselves with transparency and clearly explain and justify each and every decision. As a parent, I'm concerned about how these changes might affect student access and opportunity. I'm here tonight, and every board meeting, at the expense of missing my own kid's Taekwondo belt ceremony. I skipped it to be here. And I'm not saying that for sympathy, but I'm sharing that the decisions you're making, the people in this room have gone to extreme sacrifice to be here, to show up, because we care about these outcomes. Yet, we don't feel that that burden is being shared equally by all groups impacted by these decisions. Instead of addressing bloat, we're solving financial gaps at the expense of students and student-facing staff. Finally, I want to note that I'm deeply concerned about staffing decisions made under the banner of economy, including the non-renewal of a highly effective high school principal, one who does an excellent job and doesn't even take district health benefits, so she doesn't fall under that healthcare cost that we just keep hearing about. Decisions like these raise important questions about how priorities are set and whether cost savings are truly being achieved in a transparent and consistent manner. I appreciate the work that goes into this process, but I would strongly urge the board to reflect on how communication, consistency, and transparency is achieved. Trust isn't built just on decisions, but how those decisions are made and explained. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Darla Ferdinand, 591 Allen Avenue. And I'm here to say that the decisions you're making may look like short-term savings to balance a budget, but in reality, they carry long-term financial and community costs that we cannot afford to ignore. The most important school in a town is its high school. And I'm not saying that because I'm a high school teacher. I'm saying this because I own a home in Ridgefield and I sent my daughters to this high school. Both of my daughters are extremely successful and accomplished due to the solid foundation they received from this high school. I know we are between a rock and a hard place right now with the budget, and that the school budget crisis is far-reaching across the county and the state, and that on paper, cutting a high school principal might seem like a savings that's easy because she is non-tenured. However, the chaos and instability this decision brings to our high school may prove not to be worth the dollars and cents you expect to save. Dr. Nadler has been one of the most efficient, highly effective, consistent, and fair principals we have ever had at RMHS. The past eras of chaos and instability we were rebuilding with Dr. Nadler as a leader. Rebuilding academic rigor, academic excellence, regaining stability and consistency. She added course offerings, AP classes, programs, community outreach, and so much more. What is this board's plan for the high school now? No one shared. How will you ensure that the student experience and the success of the high school will not suffer and buckle under the uncertainty we are now facing? In addition, you're making cuts to student-facing positions at the high school. They might save money on paper, and that seems significant on a spreadsheet until you compare it to what we stand to lose. Do you realize that even losing just 15 to 20 students from our district because they no longer see a high school that meets their needs has a long-term financial loss that quickly outweighs the short-term savings from this budget? In New Jersey, as you I'm sure know, state aid is tied directly to student enrollment. If fewer students come to the high school, that means less funding. And it doesn't just happen once, it compounds year after year. Have you thought of this? Have you planned for this? Because this is how the cycle begins. We cut programs to save money. Then families may perceive a weakening district. Enrollment will go down. School funding will be cut, and the cycle will continue. We'll be forced to make even more cuts. This is not a strategy, it's a downward spiral. If our high school course offerings shrink, if electives disappear, If leadership is inconsistent, we send a message, whether we intend to or not, that our high school is offering less. And as a taxpayer, and a parent, and a teacher, I do not want to see this happen. And families respond to that message. They look to private schools, charter schools, neighboring districts, or county academies that our tax dollars will have to pay for. And once they leave, it's very difficult to get them back. As a taxpayer, a teacher, and a parent, I do not want to see this happen. There's also a broader impact that we cannot ignore. Home values. Strong high schools drive property values. Families choose where to live based on the quality of a high school. A robust, well-rounded high school signals a thriving community. A high school that's making cuts is not going to give that signal to families looking to move into a town. And as a taxpayer, and a teacher, and a parent, I do not want to see this happen. A large property tax increase combined with reduced student opportunities is a catastrophic equation for homeowners. So the math here matters. Saving money while risk losing hundreds and thousands of state aid over time because enrollment dropped weakens our housing market. It's not sound financial planning. It's a downward spiral. And as a parent, a teacher, and a taxpayer in Ridgefield, I do not want to see this happen. So what is the larger plan for attracting and retaining enrollments at RMHS? I really urge the board to look beyond the immediate line items and consider the full picture. To me, the question is not whether we can afford to do these things.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nancy Arcuri, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I think you're making a big mistake. You probably already know that I have worked here for a number of years. During my tenure here, I have seen many changes, some organic and some imposed. I recall when we had a true library here at RMHS with books and periodicals and 2 librarians at the same time. Over the years, I saw that same library reduced to a computer lab. Then both librarians were replaced with a media specialist, who's also terminated. The space was then chopped up into classrooms, conference rooms, the IT hub, and office space. It is now labeled Media Center, but you may be surprised to know that the so-called media is a handful of out-of-date desktops, tables, an office, and the set for the AP Club morning announcements. There are no books or resources in this space. We had courses like typing and accounting and home economics classrooms with kitchens and sewing machines, and a working wood shop and auto body shop. Students actually did oil changes on staff cars. When I was first hired, the building was called the Junior Senior High School, which means grades 7 through 12 were housed in this building. I recall graduating classes as small as 86 and as large as 140. We had a traditional 8-period day for a number of years. Then for a short time, we had a 7-period day that ended with an activity period, a time for clubs and sports to meet. Finally, we transitioned to the current block schedule format. Students used books, notebooks, and pen and pencil. One year, beepers arrived. Soon after that, cell phones appeared, and eventually we went digital with desktops and then laptops. And let's not forget, and some of you may not know, the weekly vandalism of the boys' bathrooms. Sinks were literally pulled off the walls. Parties were organized by text message with specific meet times, where students arrived, blasted music, and went wild. Believe it or not, an administrator actually made a deal with those students that the parties would be permitted on occasion with the agreement that they would not destroy the facilities. Subsequently, the 1st and 3rd floor bathrooms were closed to students for years. There is a point to this stroll down memory lane. During this time, I worked under at least 11 principals and no less than 13 superintendents. Why is this my point? Because I would like to note that in all these cases, through all these changes, some for the better, some not so much, one thing stands out. When this building started to have a reputation in town of going down the tubes because of the disorder, the brazen behavior of some students, absenteeism and tardiness, Dr. Vicki Nadler was hired. In 4 short years, she turned the building around. Her approach was not appreciated by some students, staff, and even community members because, and I quote, she was too strict and because we never had to do that before. Suddenly, the expectation was to arrive on time, rules were to be followed, order was to be maintained. Staff were assigned bathroom duty. Smart Pass was introduced to limit the number of students in the bathrooms and to set a specific time limit. Eventually, the 3rd floor bathrooms were reopened. By the end of her 2nd year, we were able to actually have an uninterrupted period of instruction. PA announcements were eliminated except for emergencies. Imagine that. Students could no longer be pulled from classes for counseling or a walk to the sweet shop for a counseling session. People were where they were supposed to be, and there was order. And so I must ask the administrators in the room, which of you may be offered up as tribute to fill this position? Now indulge me for just another moment. I would like to make a generalized statement to my colleagues here, to the educators in the community, to the parents and grandparents here on the board, and to any current and former students here tonight. The fundamental lesson that each of us has endeavored to teach our children is to always strive to become the best version of yourself. From the moment our kids start school, we teach them, be an upstander, not a bystander. In middle school, we encourage them, to build on their strengths and to improve their weaknesses. By high school, we help them to set goals for their future, and we give them the tools and the opportunities to find themselves. We encourage them to get involved in clubs, sports, activities, service opportunities, and to take challenging AP and honors courses, and to build their resumes for their college search. If this message resonates with anyone here, please now try to put yourself in the position of our current high school students. They are faced with the possibility, the probability, that everything they have been told over the years, all the promises, the opportunities, we ask them, I'm sorry.
Your time is 5 minutes.
Your time is up.
Can you finish this for me, please, right from here? Oh my God. Thank you so much. This is the point. Right here, get this message.
That's Mom.
If this message resonates with anyone here, please now try to put yourself in the position of our current high school students. They are faced with the possibility, the probability, the everything they have been told over the years, all the promises, the opportunities we ask them to take advantage of. Their future is on the chopping block. Over the past several weeks, I have seen the fear and unease coming from them. I have seen the disappointment in their eyes when they ask, will we have sports? Can I still be in the honor society? Who will be my teacher? That is disappointment is heartbreaking. Have you seen it? Can you even comprehend how these proposals or decisions are affecting our children? And so yes, we are facing a budget gap. That's one way to call it. Spending needs to be adjusted. The budget must be balanced. This should not fall on the wallets of the taxpayers. Hard decisions must be made, but it seems that these are not informed decisions. Perhaps they are misinformed or even disinformed. Maybe these decisions are being imposed upon you, but you are the trustees and the functionaries of the schools. Have you truly considered what has been proposed? Have you included the true stakeholders in your decision, or when you were told there is no other way to solve this budget gap? And so I repeat, I think you are making a big mistake.
Good evening, my name is Mary Madison, Hillsdale, New Jersey, and I've been a math teacher at Richfield Memorial High School since 2001. I know we're dealing with a $2.5 million deficit. I understand tough decisions must be made, but I'm really concerned about where those cuts are falling. We're cutting around 10 teachers and 1 administrator. When I started in 2001, there was 1 superintendent handling the whole board office. At the high school, there was just 1 principal running the entire building. Over the years, we've added more and more administrative roles, but the cuts are still falling mostly on the teachers. Meanwhile, in the classroom, we're being asked to do more with less. And that doesn't show up on a budget. It shows up with our students. After this year, we have 4 math teachers at the high school. I also teach computer science, programs that I helped build here. Those courses gave many of our students the opportunity to try coding, and some have even gone on to major in computer science in college. So the question becomes, how are we actually going to offer enough sections for our students? There's already been talk about combining honors calculus and AP calculus in the same period. Those are not the same class. AP starts ahead and moves faster from day one. To put it in perspective, what I'm teaching right now in honors calculus is material I taught in AP calculus back in January. That's the difference in pacing. You can't just merge classes together and expect the same results. And I care about those results because I've seen what our students can do when they're given the right guidance and support. Over the past 5 years, our AP Calculus students have averaged a 4.5 out of 5. For comparison, in New Jersey, the average is at 3.2. That doesn't happen by accident. It reflects what students are capable of when they have the time, the structure, and the attention that they need. When we cut staffing to this level, that's what we lose. AP courses aren't extras. For a lot of our students, they're critical for college, for scholarships, for their future. And right now, we're putting those opportunities at risk. And the reality is, these decisions don't impact everyone equally. They don't really affect titles or positions. They affect our students. They affect what happens in classrooms every day. I've been here for over 20 years. I care about the school. And most importantly, I care about our students. When we cut the people who teach these courses, we're not just cutting positions. We're cutting opportunities our students won't get back. Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Zunick, 112 Kingston Ave, Hawthorne. I'm a proud science teacher who's been at RMHS for over 2 decades, and I enjoy coming to work every day. I'm also the district's department chairperson for STEM. That means I oversee the science, math, and business departments. I appreciate the fact that the entire board is here tonight. I'm going to reiterate my talking points from my last speech, since 3 board members, including 2/3 of the really important Operations and Finance Committee, were not present at such a critical juncture in our district's history. Once again, I'm missing my daughter's softball game to be here tonight, and I'm one of the coaches. But it is all hands on deck to get this budget figured out. One of the most concerning things to me is the lack of stakeholder involvement when such devastating budget cuts are in front of us. There is no clear communication coming from or going to the decision makers. The REA has received such mixed and inconsistent messages from the board office. There have been times where our own principal was not even aware of the changes that were being made. There doesn't seem to be any interest in hearing from the association, the department chairs, or anybody else that could help actually steer this district in a good direction. I've conservatively estimated that 63% of the budget reduction comes from student-facing positions, and that number is likely higher due to ambiguity on the spreadsheet the REA received. To repeat my message from the last board meeting, it is completely irresponsible to cut a high school math teacher. You are not even going to save much money because he is the least expensive teacher on the payroll. That is not even an exaggeration. He is currently at BA Step 1. He is also loved by his students, who actually look forward to going to algebra class. Half of his salary would be saved simply by cutting Linkit, which is universally disliked by the teachers. Last month, I stated the cost of Linkit is $30,000, but that was actually this year's price. In this economy, I would even be surprised if it was like 20 or 25% higher. You are going to force extremely large classes where students will not get the individual attention they deserve. You will make it difficult for our lower achieving students to receive the attention that they need. You will make us choose if we can offer certain honors or AP classes, which would be a major and devastating loss to our students. As I have mentioned before, it is absolutely essential to keep our 5 math teachers, along with the 5 science and the 3 business teachers. We have great programs, and I know that it will land on me personally to have to tell students that our high school is not providing for them. I lose sleep over this because I care a lot about this school. I started the STEM Academy to try to keep our best 8th graders in district. I started the Business Academy to get students excited about real-world job experiences and to serve a different type of student than those in STEM. It is your responsibility to make sure that our high school is fully funded and you do not cut student-facing staff and programs. Because long after you make your decision about the budget, the students will be feeling the effects for years, and you are not the one that will have to look students in the eye every day when their programs do not exist anymore. I will have to do that, not you. It is also completely outrageous that you are getting rid of our highly effective high school principal. The previous superintendent brought her here with the specific task of cleaning up the high school. She did that, and she did that extremely well. The RMHS staff overwhelmingly like and respect her. She literally did the job that she was brought here to do, and getting non-renewed was how she was thanked. This is another big loss for the high school. I'm not sure why the board needs to disproportionately take more away from the high school than from any other area of the budget. I also find it quite disheartening that we've lost a guidance counselor. I know my 5 minutes is about up, so I can't go on about that, but having one guidance counselor and one combined SAC/guidance counselor makes no sense. I'm happy that my daughter will be attending a high school next year where there are enough counselors to make sure that all the college applications are done correctly, because that is really important, and that is a big part of what we do at the high school. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jody Hess, 6-10 First Street, Fairlawn, New Jersey, and I am the combined guidance counselor and SAC that Mr. Zunick was just talking about as of July 1. So everybody asks, student assistance counselor, what even is that? So, you know, somebody said that.
I know, not me. I don't have one. I'm thrilled that my kids will.
For 5 minutes. So, my work each day centers on supporting students facing some of the most serious and vulnerable moments of their lives. So I work closely with students who are struggling with substance use and addiction, depression, feelings of hopelessness, suicidal ideation, experiences of abuse, and thoughts of harming themselves or others. The nature of this role requires constant and immediate availability and the ability to respond quickly and effectively in high-stakes situations. A distinctly different position is that of a high school counselor. They play an absolutely vital role in supporting students across many other areas of their development and success. Their responsibilities extend far beyond academics alone, and they include, but not limited to, guiding students through social and interpersonal challenges, fostering communication and life skills, assisting with academic planning and scheduling, supporting college and career readiness, preparing students for post-secondary opportunities, improving chronic absenteeism, writing hundreds of letters of recommendation, helping students complete college applications, FAFSA, early college, dual enrollment, and coordinating supports such as 504 and INRS interventions. School counselors are not optional, they are essential. So, being asked to absorb 100% of the eliminated school counselor's position and caseload of over 250 students while maintaining my position as SAC is something students will feel. Students will need to be triaged, and that is never what the Ridgefield Public School District has been about. The needs of our students are immense. As someone who sees the tears of our students every day and is also blessed enough to celebrate with them, we may succeed and overcome. Please believe me when I tell you that the mental health crisis that teenagers are experiencing is real and stretching us thinner while simultaneously removing critical positions is devastating to our students. So, while trying to navigate all of this, I found out that this board chose to not renew the contract of Dr. Nadler, a principal who has been instrumental in bringing structure, accountability, and professionalism to Ridgefield Memorial High School. So I would say I have a different perspective than a lot of people because as the SAC, I work outside of her administrative team. I work probably in this building the most closely with Dr. Nadler out of any other staff member. She and I meet daily, usually multiple times. And she is probably one of the kindest, most generous, and thoughtful human beings I'm blessed to know. So in this building, everyone is treated fairly, whether you're a student or a staff member. So whether Dr. Nadler is recognizing a student or a staff member for an exceptional job, or holding individuals accountable when her expectations are not met, she always leads with consistency, fairness, and professionalism. And I will say, strong leadership is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. Students are asking us questions that we cannot answer. Staff are worried, obviously, about how we can maintain the level of support and stability that our students deserve, while resources and leadership continue to be removed. When the positions being cut are the very positions that provide support, accountability, and stability to our students, it becomes difficult not to question what priorities are truly driving these decisions. At the end of the day, our schools and the students and staff within them are not budgets or spreadsheets. Inside these buildings are communities made up of students who need support and love, staff who need leadership and guidance, and our incredible Ridgefield families who value the people who are guiding their children's education. So I urge the board to seriously reflect on the impact of these decisions. Inside this building, where the real day-to-day work takes place, these actions do not feel like progress. They feel deeply harmful to the students, staff, and our school community. Thank you.
Let's go 61 Madison Ave, Rochelle Park. I'm speaking on behalf of my friend Robin, who could not be here this evening. My name is Robin Merkel Walsh, and I'm a parent of a student in our high school. My family made significant sacrifices to live in this district because we believed in its commitment to students' access and support. That belief is why I'm sharing these concerns tonight. My child is entering his senior year, which is one of the most important and high-pressure times in a student's educational journey. This is a year filled with college applications, academic demands, and major transitions. For students with unique needs, consistent and accessible support is essential. I'm very concerned about the loss of Dr. Nadler. She was essential in supporting my child's individual needs. She was responsive, present, and consistently supportive of his education. That level of leadership and accessibility is not easily replaced, especially for families like mine who rely on collaboration and communication. At the same time, I'm deeply concerned about proposed changes to student support services. We are now asking 2 guidance counselors to serve approximately 400 students, with one also acting as the SAC coordinator. That is not simply a demanding workload, it is unsustainable and inequitable model that will inevitably limit student access. Guidance counselors are essential. They support students through college applications, scholarship opportunities, academic planning, legally mandated support such as 504 plans. Reducing access to these services during senior year is particularly concerning. I'm worried about what these changes will mean for my child and for other students who depend on these supports to succeed during this critical time. I respectfully ask the board to carefully consider the real impact of these decisions on students and to ensure that appropriate supports remain in place. Because when we reduce support, we do not just change staffing, we change outcomes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Santinelli, Oradell, New Jersey, and I'm a math teacher here at the high school since 2004. I thought it was important to come speak because of everything that's been going on. Obviously, I think the students that spoke up had great points. I actually was here for detention today, and they were like, "What's this setup? And what do they do there?" So just students coming out, I think, is really important. Getting involved. So I'm speaking tonight basically as a teacher on behalf of the students. When I first started here, the department, the math department had 7 teachers. So I joined a large size, and we had about similar size of students per class. over the years, it slowly dwindled. We went to 6 teachers, 5, and now we're being asked to go to 4. Next year, we are looking at a projected 26 math sections, and with 4 teachers, I mean, you guys can do the math, that's about 6 or 7 classes per teacher. So that's not sustainable workload if we want to maintain strong instruction and support for our students. I also want to note that the teacher that's being let go is someone that I was able to mentor this year. It was nice to see someone come out of college, be here for the right reason, and just these days it's hard to find a math teacher that has strong classroom management. I think that's one of the biggest parts of teaching that's difficult, especially starting out, and the students, really enjoyed it. Every student I spoke to had great things to say. They were learning, great things, and you never really had an issue with the students, which is really nice to see. I also, more broadly, I urge the board to consider the bigger picture here. What kind of math program do we want for our students moving forward, and what opportunities are we willing to limit? We worked very hard in the past trying to bring great STEM programs to the high school to keep strong students coming here. And to come this far and make decisions that could potentially hinder this, I think is really something important to look into when we're making decisions. So this decision is more than just a position, it's about the direction of our school. Thanks.
So I'm Ted Siegel. I'm a social studies teacher here in North Bergen, New Jersey. I'm currently on paternity leave, the VP of the REA. I'm also the student council advisor. So just to address 2 things. One, we've heard multiple times up here that this is a statewide problem, that this is a problem that is not unique to Ridgefield, and that is certainly true. But I would say, Clinton Calabrese, Gordon Johnson, Gary Scher, those are the political representatives of Ridgefield. Call them. I would ask, how many of you on the board have called those people and alerted them to this issue and called them daily? I mean, I would ask that you do this, to respond to the political pressure of a board of education talking about how you are being forced to do this sort of thing and this needs a statewide fix, which frankly, I don't, we may have to do this all over again next year. So please, if you take this seriously, please, outside of these meetings, outside of your meetings, call these people and let them know if you're not doing so already. I think that's a pretty reasonable request. The second thing I would say is that people talk about how they're making tough decisions. These are tough decisions. And I think toughness implies that there's no other choice, that everything that is being done is sort of, your hand is being forced. But I gotta say, it doesn't feel that way from the community's perspective, from the teacher's perspective, from the staff's perspective, from the citizenry's perspective. Because, for instance, you are cutting, a fairly effective, well-liked math teacher, right? You are cutting a highly competent, well-respected principal who was brought in here in the post-COVID years to clean things up and did so stupendously, right? We were being told that we were doing this because it's a cost-saving measure. But, as has been said multiple times, this is an example where the math teacher's course load will have to be taken up by existing staff members, which may ultimately actually lead to those staff members getting additional stipends for taking up more courses than is legally permissible under their contract, which means that they're ultimately going to be making more money, which means that probably the savings will be minuscule in terms of cutting this beloved, well-liked, young, enthusiastic educator. You are cutting an administrator theoretically out of it, you're cutting a particular administrator theoretically out of economic need, but this administrator does not take health benefits here. And so the idea that it is her in particular, that she alone would be the person that could lead to these economic problems being ameliorated, doesn't really hold up to snuff, right? If these seemed like they were decisions of last resort, of no choice, then perhaps things would be a bit different. We understand that there's a budget crisis, but the particular nature of the cuts seam slapdash. Right? This is a job that requires a scalpel, and I feel like what is being used here, in fact, is a chainsaw. And a chainsaw on the wrong part of the body. Or perhaps there could be other potential opportunities that have not necessarily been explored. And so, in summation, right, you've made several student-facing cuts, the most destructive of cuts, all in the name of economic necessity, with supposedly no other choice, without the appearance of you seriously, again, appearance of you seriously looking at things, for instance, like Board of Ed office cuts or costs that perhaps could have been accomplished, or perhaps could have accomplished the same savings with less district-wide student pay. So, what we object to, what we, teachers union, we, the staff of Richfield Memorial High School and the rest of Richfield, object to, what I think the citizenry objects to here, is the idea that the particular cuts you've made, not the idea of cuts in general, but the particular cuts you've made, the pain these cuts have caused and will cause, the perceived financial ineffectiveness of those cuts, and the lack of cuts elsewhere, where there might be less student-centric pain, need to be addressed and need to be thought about, right? I don't feel that these reductions, these layoffs, and perhaps the other options that might be on the table have been considered carefully enough. In fact, I don't think that these really have been tough decisions at all. Right? Tough decisions would require sacrifice, and frankly, I don't think that sacrifice has been shared in a way that perhaps it should be. In some ways, I feel like these decisions may have been, frankly, relatively easy. And I think the student body is going to suffer as a result. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Song, and I live at 745 Avenue in Richmond, New Jersey. As a high school senior in Richmond Memorial High School, I have great concerns over the budget cuts within this district and want to speak on the cost of tuition to the academies for students within the district. My brother is a freshman at Bergen Technical High School in Teterboro and was encouraged to apply by both myself and my parents to apply, in part because of the greater selection of AP classes offered. I feel that I have taken advantage of as many academic and co-curricular opportunities that this district has to offer. In fact, out of the entire student body, out of every single high school student in this high school, I have taken the most APs. And I've never had a complaint on the caliber of education that I've received within these courses. However, I have been frustrated with the limited amount of courses that are offered. My concern is that when AP classes are cut or combined with honors classes, the caliber of these educations will decrease. This is what pushes students like my brother to choose to leave Richfield and go to the academies and I feel that we are setting a bad precedent for a cycle that will be an uphill battle to break out of. I have had the pleasure of representing this district in the Macy's Great American Marching Band within the Macy's Day Parade due to the legacy that Mr. Tracy has built in the marching band program here. I have been involved in everything music in this district and have had my try at athletics as well as multiple clubs within this high school. With all of this said, I have seen programs suffer due to the loss of these ambitious students to the academies, especially in the music programs. Band and choir is an activity that relies on that of a group and is impossible for a single person to carry a quality of a band or choir. I know that my brother would have continued his journey in the marching band had he chosen to stay in this district, and his continued participation within the band was a factor when choosing the high school he would attend. Cutting budgets in co-curricular will be detrimental to the students, and I assure you that its effects manifest clearly in the spirit of the students within the activity. I would also, again, like to touch on the lack of transparency, again, within these trying times as a victim of it myself. On a seemingly random Thursday in March, I'd been emailed by Mr. Tracy that there would no longer be a jazz band. And then the next day, I came to school and then asked around what happened, and then we were told, the rumor was that there was no budget for Mr. Tracy's stipend within the jazz band for it to continue. But the next day, we were told that it was going to continue as normal, and we still don't have a clear explanation for this and why this is happening. To summarize, my largest concern is that this district's choice to cut the budget in teachers' curriculum, athletics, and co-curricular activities is only the beginning of a downward spiral for this district, and one that I feel that we will not have the foresight to get out of. Thank you.
You hear me? Everybody hear me? All right. Good evening. My name is Officer Theo Abdallah, 700 Shell Boulevard. I'm going to be reading this speech on behalf of the School Resource Officer, Sergeant Greg Anastasados. Hello, I apologize that I could not be at tonight's meeting to deliver this speech in person due to personal obligations. Approximately 1 year ago, I attended a Board of Education meeting and expressed my support for Dr. Nadler and the stability she brought to the Richfield Memorial High School. I spoke about the importance of her calming presence in the school and that she set clear expectations for both staff and students. I stated that Dr. Nadler applied the rules to everyone equally and that she was consistent with this message. I also stated that she put a high emphasis on school safety, which made it extremely easy to work alongside her. Over the past year, my opinion has only strengthened. Through continued interaction, Dr. Nadler has consistently demonstrated fairness, professionalism, and dedication to the students, staff, and overall school community. She approaches difficult situations with composure and professionalism while maintaining a level-headed and thoughtful demeanor that helps create a stable educational environment. In a profession where consistency and trust are critical, Dr. Nadler has always proven herself to be a dependable and effective leader. One of the qualities that stands out most is her ability to balance accountability with compassion. She maintains high standards for student behavior and staff expectations while also recognizing the importance of supporting students academically, emotionally, and socially. Her decisions are measured fair and centered around what is best for the school as a whole. Students benefit from structure and consistency, and Dr. Nadler has always worked hard to ensure that those expectations are applied equally to everyone. From a law enforcement and school safety perspective, Dr. Nadler has always been proactive, communicative, and collaborative. She understands the importance of maintaining a safe and secure learning environment, has consistently made school safety a priority. Communication between administration and law enforcement is essential, and Dr. Nadler has always fostered a professional working relationship built on mutual respect, responsiveness, and shared goals. Her willingness to collaborate and address concerns directly helps strengthen the partnership between the school administration and those responsible for ensuring the safety of students and staff. In addition, Dr. Nadler exudes the highest caliber of professionalism in all of her interactions. She carries herself with integrity, treats people with respect, and remains consistent in both her words and actions. Her leadership style promotes trust, accountability, and stability, qualities that are essential in any successful school environment. It is clear that she genuinely cares about the well-being and success of the students and staff at Richfield Memorial High School, and I believe her leadership has had a positive and lasting impact on the school community. I would like to discuss Mr. Romeo and the positive impact he has had on the Richfield Memorial High School and the community as a whole. Mr. Romeo serves in a unique and demanding role as he functions as both the school administrator and the athletic director. Balancing these responsibilities requires an exceptional level of dedication, professionalism, communication, and leadership, all of which Mr. Romeo consistently demonstrates on a daily basis. One of Mr. Romeo's greatest strengths is the rapport he has built with the student body. Through his approachable demeanor, visibility throughout the school, and genuine investment in students, he has established strong relationships with a majority of the students who enter the building. Students feel comfortable speaking with him, voicing concerns and seeking guidance because they know they will be treated with respect and fairness. In many ways, he serves not only as an administrator, but also as a mentor and positive role model for the students. That level of trust and accessibility is invaluable in a school setting and contributes greatly to the positive culture within the building. I work very closely with Mr. Romeo, particularly during the football season when Richfield Memorial High School hosts the majority of its home athletic events. Both Mr. Romeo and I shared a vested interest in ensuring the safety and security of all players, students, staff, and spectators who attend these events. It is no secret that the landscape of school safety and event security has evolved drastically over the past decade, requiring schools and law enforcement agencies to constantly adapt and prepare for a wide variety of challenges. Mr. Romeo has consistently demonstrated a strong understanding of these evolving responsibilities. His attention to detail, proactive planning, willingness to collaborate, and ability to communicate effectively have allowed us to work together in creating a safe and organized environment for athletic events and school functions. Whether it involves coordinating security plans, managing large crowds, addressing concerns before they become issues, or ensuring proper supervision of students and spectators, Mr. Romeo approaches every situation with professionalism and a strong sense of responsibility. Because of his efforts in collaboration, Richfield Memorial High School and the Richfield Police Department have been able to establish an environment that prioritizes safety while fostering a positive experience for students, families, and community members attending school events. In addition to his work involving school safety and administration, Mr. Romeo has shown a deep understanding of the positive impact extracurricular activities and athletics can have on students. Numerous studies have demonstrated that participation in high school sports and structured extracurricular activities can reduce delinquency, disciplinary issues.
Thank you, sir.
You want it? Yeah. Who's doing it?
Where you at? Okay. Mr. Romeo approaches every situation with professionalism and strong responsibility. Because of his efforts and collaboration, Richfield Memorial High School, Richfield Police Department have been able to establish an environment that prioritizes safety while still fostering a positive experience for students, families, and community members attending school events. In addition to his work involving school safety administration, Mr. Romeo has showed a deep understanding of the positive impact of extracurricular activities. Athletics can have on students' numerous roles, have demonstrated his participation in high school sports and structured extracurricular activities. Can reduce delinquency, disciplinary issues. I think you already read this. Mr. Romeo clearly recognizes the importance of these opportunities and vigorously encourages all students. What stands out about Mr. Romeo is his commitment to the students, and the school extends far more beyond the normal expectations of his position. I can state with absolute certainty that Mr. Romeo spends more hours in Richfield than nearly any other staff member within the district. He arrives in school before the start of school day and frequently remains until the conclusion of evening's athletic activities, which often end 14 or 15 hours workdays. Despite the long hours and demanding responsibilities, he occasionally maintains a professional, positive, and student-focused attitude. His dedication, work ethic, and commitment to the students of Richfield Memorial High School are evident in everything he does. Mr. Romeo's presence has a meaningful and positive impact on the school community, and his efforts continue to contribute to a safe, supportive, engaging environment for students and both inside and outside the classroom. Wow, Greg can talk. As police officers, we taught from the way of the beginning of our careers in the police academy that we are held to a higher standard. Our actions, both on and off duty, are reflections not only of ourselves, but also the departments we represent and the law enforcement professionals as a whole. As public servants, we are expected to lead by example through accessibility, professionalism, integrity, and consistency in all aspects of our lives. Although Dr. Nadler and Mr. Romeo are not sworn law enforcement officers, I can confidently say that they conduct themselves according to those same core principles. It's my experience working alongside both of them, they have consistently demonstrated professionalism, accountability, fairness, dedication, and unwavering commitment to the students, staff, and community they serve. I take my role as a school resource officer real serious. As a lifelong resident of Richfield and graduate of Richfield Memorial High School, I feel both personal and professional responsibility to help ensure the safety, security, and well-being of every individual connected to the Richfield School District. That responsibility requires strong partnerships, trust, communication, and collaboration between law enforcement and school administration. Without hesitation, I can say both individuals are professionals of the highest caliber. Their leadership, work ethic, and commitment to the school community are evident in everything they do. They have consistently prioritized the safety, success, of the students and fostering a positive and structured educational environment. Both individuals are tremendous assets to the district, and they have our full support, as well as the full support of the Richfield Police Department administration. Respectfully, Sergeant Greg Anastatatos, I can't say his last name, School Resource Officer. And while I'm here, I got a couple minutes, let me just say, as far as a safety person, Dr. Nadler is leaps and bounds about what goes on in the school. She called me 2 days ago to tell me some of the students that we have, we had a thing here trying to recruit. She told me 2 days ago that she will be speaking to them. And she stood out here with us trying to encourage people to join the fire department. So this person is not one you guys want to lose. Mr. Joe just asked you for 0.02% to raise the budget. Why not raise the budget? I'm a taxpayer. I'll pay that extra money for Dr. Nadler and the math teacher. Why not? Okay? Yes. What's it, $20? I'll get it out of my pocket now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hassan Darwish. I'm a junior at this school, and I came in here not thinking of saying anything. I just wasn't even gonna come today, and then I decided to come and watch, and then I sat, and hearing what all these teachers had to say has left me concerned, and it's left me to want to give you the perspective of a student who needs the kind of resources that may be squandered or may not exist in the future. Because I have not had the most positive experience at this school. I acknowledge that. I have met people that have made me feel terrible. I have gone through things that I would never wish on anybody. I've been in places that I would never wish anyone to go to. I came to this school with the intention at a young age of going somewhere where I could meet people and feel comfortable, and I did. And the thing is that I look at all the things that had happened to me at this school and had happened to me while I've been here, and going through all of that, having to be gone for a week because of a very hard time in my life, and having to go through that and find something in myself to like being alive and willing to exist as a human being, and realizing that the reasons I like to be here are the things that I do for the people in my life, and the people I get to support and care about, and the people I get to love, and the people I get to see every day. And a lot of those people are the people who I see at school. For many years, when I was in this school, there was nothing I liked to do, nothing I really enjoyed, except coming in here, getting through my classes, talking to the people I wanted to talk to, and doing the things I wanted to do outside of school, in clubs, in extracurriculars, in experiencing things, in things like robotics, which every single person in that club is terrified it might not exist because the main teacher running it is not going to be here next year. Or things like environmental, which I've grown to enjoy, where the main teacher doing it is not going to be here next year. Or other things where I was gone for 4 days because of a suicide scare, and the person who I could turn to for all of that was Miss Hess, through all of that. And the idea that now she is going to have far more work where people, either me or like me, are going to want to go to someone like her and are going to be denied. I came to her today to talk about something that I've been dealing with in my life, something personal. And the amount of times I was sitting in her room and having to go in and out and get cut off and not be able to have someone to speak to because there were important matters at the school was a lot. And I understand that things happen, and I respect that things happen. But the idea of hearing that things like counselors and clubs and people are going to be gone, people that we grow relationships with, and we say stuff like shareholders, teachers, students, all of those terms, labels we put on top of it, but we're people. You're telling people that they know, have known for years, are not going to be here anymore, and that relationship that a lot of people have with them are going to be gone. And there may be that financial aspect, and I may not know enough to dictate what you should do, but I can say this. There are many students in this school who I know go through things just like me, who have gone through things just like me, who maybe have a 504 plan like me, who maybe have learned recently that they have mental health problems. Like I learned this year that I am on the autism spectrum, and I didn't know that. And had I not had the support that I had in this school, I may not have been comfortable enough to even bother trying to figure that out, or trying to do anything, or speaking to you now. I may not have been living. The only way that you may have heard about what happened with me was a news article or a story. And a lot of people will come here and tell you about the things that you can see and the changes you can see, but there are going to be tens of hundreds, maybe thousands of students that will go through the school in its lifetime where you will never hear their story. And it's because if you heard their story, there's no good reason to hear it. There's no positive reason to hear it. And you hearing that story is the last thing you would ever want to happen to that person or to you. And I hope and I pray that whatever happens in these next few months, that people's well-being is taken into account, is how people will feel about these things, and how it will harm people, because it does matter if people can get into colleges or do well in their classes, but it matters if people feel happy being here, because if people don't want to be here, it doesn't matter what you try to make easier for them in their classes, they won't want to do their work, or they won't want to be in this school, and they might never be in this school. They might try to move, they might skip their classes, cut them. If they don't feel like this is a place they want to be in, they won't be in it. I have seen honors and low level, always skipping classes people. If people don't want to be in school, they won't be in it, and if people want to be in school, they'll care about it, but they need a reason. And the only reason I'm here is because I had a reason to care, and I took it, and I found meaning in it. And I hope you understand that, and I hope you see that through.
Annabelle McGuire, 1093 Edgewater Avenue. I'm a sophomore at RMHS, and based off the decisions that this board has made, it is really concerning, and it is, frankly, it is hard to imagine that you comprehend how essential teachers are to our school. It is a school. You are the Board of Education. Education is the primary part of going to school. And you are taking away the people who make that happen. We have so many technological programs, and with Membean and Lincoln and Nobody and everything. And I am an honor student. I can tell you, majority of my classmates use AI to complete all of their assignments. They are passing because they are using artificial intelligence. They do not actually help students learn or do anything. I can tell you that I, as a student, I need physical teachers there teaching me, not a screen in front of me. That is not what I need. I need a connection, a person. You are not only taking away our fantastic, talented educators, you are taking away relationships and connections. These teachers do more than just educate, although they are fantastic at that. They are building relationships with students. They are what brings students to the school and make them come to school every single day. Teachers here make or break the school, and we have some fantastic ones. I can tell you, I didn't go to Slocum. I went to a private school for middle school and elementary school. And there, I was a C student. Here, last year, I had straight A's. Right now, I have straight A's, and that didn't appear out of nowhere. That is because of the amazing teachers that we have who have educated us so well and are helping us become the best that we can possibly be. And they are helping us succeed and prepare and go out into the world as successful adults and go on to whatever we're going to do. It is really concerning that you are putting technology, and I understand money is important. That is what the world runs on. But you are taking away the essential part of this school. You are essentially taking out the heart of this school. The educators are what make this school a school. They are what make this school run. What are we supposed to do when you take them away?
And Carleon Rosas, 687 Blue Street. I would just like the board to take into account all of the people here. Taxpayers, teachers, and students. We don't have to be here. A lot of the teachers and people present at this moment spoke their concerns in the past too. So the fact that this is being repeated again demonstrates the gravity of the situation. Have we really taken into account how these cuts are impacting the group who you are trying to help? The students. We as students need our teachers. And this will repeat what I briefly spoke about at the last board meeting. Our teachers work every single day. And I don't think you understand the amount of work or planning that goes into us. Like Ms. Bredel mentioned, she is missing out on her children's ceremony. And like Mr. Msunik mentioned, he is missing out on things too. These things can lead to long-lasting effects for children, yet they are here. As well as possibly putting, let's say, 30 students in a class shouldn't be an option. Since I am a high school student, do you know how difficult it can be to manage high school students? And you should all know by the fact that Mr. Curie mentioned school vandalism was a thing. Teachers and staff are humans, and they constantly go beyond the minimum to see us succeed in life. Yet here we are, students losing our opportunities, our clubs, teachers, and classes, which are the ones who teach us growth, independence, putting us out of our comfort zone for the better. So why take these away? How are you helping us, the students? And I would just like to say, at 2016, I moved to this country. I didn't know the language, yet the student teachers were the ones who helped me learn the language, and now I'm an AP Lit. All because one singular teacher gave me the confidence to try new things. Thank you to Miss Lambert, because she doesn't know how much that changed my life. She doesn't know that her giving me confidence, telling me that I could possibly get to this level, changed my life. I am here, and I hate public speaking. I get anxiety from doing so. Yet I am here because this is just, like, what are we doing? Why? What are we generally doing? It is like 9:40 and we have been talking about this for what, like the past hour? Hello? Can we take that into consideration? People have to drive like hours away just to get to their homes and families. Yet everyone is still here. What are we doing? Please consider the students, the teachers, and the taxpayers with the choices you are making. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Lisa Capacci. I haven't been here at these meetings, but I will tell you, I watch the meetings. Every painful moment. And I was on the Board of Ed, and I'm currently a school board attorney at the county level, on the local level. I'm a borough attorney, I'm a planning board attorney, I'm a board attorney. I'm not gonna talk about the budget, shockingly. I was on the Board of Ed, I was here in a highly contested, on the financial contract dispute, everything. I know how it goes. That ship sailed. And I appreciate all the comments from everybody here, but that ship has sailed. Joanna made a good comment about lack of student experience, hands-on experience by the board members here. It's well taken. My issue is the debacle that I see bi-weekly, the process here, and that I hear about, and that I see, and I'm not talking about from 1, 2 people, I hear, I talk to board members. And it's that debacle that has gotten us where we are today. And that's what I'm here to talk about. My comment is that there is a clear lack of knowledge about the administrative procedure here. By and among board members, between the board members and the superintendent, what the board members' roles are, what the duties, what the obligations are, what the superintendent's roles and obligations are. And board members, shame on you. It's your fault. You're supposed to know your duties, your obligations, your rights. You don't have to take what you hear. You have an ethical obligation not to step onto the day-to-day operations, but you are the ones who oversee the goals and policies. Your interests are aligned with the school district. So when you're talking about committees, I keep hearing people like, oh, committee? Do you understand the reason you have a committee of 3 is because otherwise you have quorum, and then you violate the Open Public Meetings Act, okay? So you have the committee, so they go with the think tank, they gather the information, they talk, they distill it, and they bring it to the board. I'm getting the sense that we're missing the they bring it to the board as a whole part. When we were in the contract arguments with the teachers and all, part of the problem was they looked at the 3 people on the finance committee, I say this with no disparagement, and they thought we were making the decisions. And at some point we had to make clear, whoa, wait a minute. We do it, but the whole board is behind this. And we had to make that clear. And I don't think that everyone here understands, you don't just say what the finance committee says and go, okay, they said that. You're entitled to know why. Ask, one-on-one, meet, ask, get the information. I guarantee I'm getting the sense that none of you have that information except the 3 people. It was like a big state secret. The other thing I want to say is, I don't think you understand the role of the board attorney. Because the board attorney represents the board and the district, not the superintendent. You got that? So he represents, and I know the board attorney knows this, and it's hard to understand, it's a concept, but it's very hard to understand in practice, okay? He represents, the board sets the policies and the goals, and the district executes on the day-to-day. So the goals of the board members and the board are aligned with the district. The district can't talk to you, so the superintendent does, the assistant superintendent does, the BA does. But they should be on the same page as the board. When the attorney gives advice to the superintendent, or speaks to the superintendent, or the administrative people, he does that for you. He does that for you. You, in theory, can be on every email. You can be in every conversation. He should have no discussions with a superintendent and administrator that you don't know about. Got that? Because you guys are on the same page. And there are times when you can actually kick out a superintendent, a BA, or somebody from a meeting when you're in closed session. You know why? Because you might have a question about whether the superintendent, and I'm not saying this happens, but whether their goals may not be in the same interest as the board and the district. That happens. We did that. And I don't get the sense that you guys understand what you're allowed to get from the attorney. You can't each call up the attorney and get advice, but you could suggest, let's get a memo. I think you should ask your attorney for a memo about who he represents, what his duties are, what your rights and duties are, what you're supposed to do. Because in fairness, he's in a rough position. For all you know, he might want to give you more advice, but he's like, I'm not going to volunteer it, I'm waiting to be asked. Get the information. I mean, I don't mean to belittle it, but I don't think that you guys know that. Ask him pay for that. Skip ahead, lose my mind here. I also think you need to brush up on Robert's Rules of Order. That's just my own personal thing. But I'm going to talk about, am I 5 minutes up? Oh, it was so exciting, but I might come back.
First of all, Dr. Dadler, if you're watching, you were way too good for this place. Like, you don't deserve us. I'm gonna make a lot of people very upset. I mean, I have some unpopular opinions. As many of you know, my sister is a board member. She's also an educator. I can't tell you how many teachers in this room and teachers in this district I talk to on a daily basis, and I would say 95% of the people that I talk to on a daily basis are either an educator or a realtor. With that said, I really thought about the position that we're in, right? And it would be great if you could just save everybody your life. Realistically, we can't do that. And I know that sucks. But what I will say is sometimes the board has to make unpopular decisions. They have to upset the teachers and the students. They have to upset the taxpayers. Because even at 7.5%, people are still mad, right? You have seniors who, yeah, it might be $500, but then you also have the 4% from the town. This is not the first time it went up over 2%. We're on 3-4 years now, and we might have this in the future. A lot of people have a lot of different areas, views that they're coming from, and here's the board. And their goal is to make the school work. You have to keep the budget running enough so the school can function. And I want to tell people, we hear a lot about what the board can't do. The board can't let people go. In fact, board members, and I don't know who did and who didn't, but I know there are certain board members that didn't know that teachers were let go. I told them, hey, did you know that Dr. Nadler got let go? Because I got 19 text messages from teachers, secretaries, aides, and a security guard. They cannot say, hey, we're gonna cut this class or we're gonna do that. The only thing they can do really is evaluate the budget, pass field trips, and evaluate the superintendent. With that said, their goal is to know what is the minimum amount needed to provide a thorough and efficient education. And here's where my issue is. I don't think you guys really know it. And not because of lack of trying, because I know Teddy worked his ass off to try to find that number and was asking questions. And I went to Ralph because, for those who don't know, the only person who can really give me an answer is the board president. This year it happens to be Mr. Marilla. So I do not go to Ms. Hoffman, I don't go to the rest of them, I go to Mr. Marilla. And I don't ask, hey, what are the details of this? Very broad questions based on what I hear in the meetings. And I'm hearing questions and I'm hearing how they're talking. And I said, from last meeting, did you guys open up the budget like other towns have done? Because everybody, as Mr. Jacobs said, everybody's in this position. Open up the budget, go line item by line item. And I was told no. We would come up with suggestions. Some of them we were told no, we can't touch that. We're not going to get rid of that position. That's a non-starter. We can't even touch that position. And other times, the position was gone. The person was let go, and hey, they found out after the fact. I suggested, as other people had suggested, do a committee of the whole. You guys talked about the committee of the whole for months. Do a committee of the whole. That way you could all talk about the budget. So you weren't replicating work. So, Mr. Costolios wasn't doing something. Mrs. Hoffman wasn't doing something. Patrick Joe wasn't doing something. That never happened. It was 3 people who were in a room who kind of know information, but I don't even think they know everything, because Patrick Joe, who tried very hard, and I'm not trying to pick on him, comes to a meeting where we're passing a budget, asks questions, didn't get an answer, right? Ms. Hoffman had to sit there and be like, can we circle back, and not all of the questions that were asked by Mr. Joe were answered. So how can you say, this is the absolute best we could do? Maybe you could have got it down to 5%. If you were able to look at the books and it wasn't, hey, I have a question about this, okay, here's the answer. I have a question about this, here's the answer. You're paying to send your kids to private school, and then you have taxes on top of it. I know you're trying the absolute best you can, but if you don't have the data, if you're not given the data to look at, there's no way you could say that it's the best possible. Finally, everybody's talking about, hey, if we don't pass it, it's going to go to the county. Maybe it has to go to the county, right? Maybe when they open up the books, they'll see stuff that we don't know. I'm not saying anything illicit is happening. I'm hearing people saying what cuts are being made at central office, and it's not about a person, it's about positions, and I don't know what is more important. Maybe the county agrees it's more important to have a special director of curriculum or an assistant superintendent that we didn't have for a number of years, as opposed to a principal. I could be wrong, I don't know, but if you guys didn't go through every line item, I don't think you know either. Finally, the AP classes. Ms. Hoffman, okay, maybe you could talk about how you don't know what classes are being cut, since it was never answered to Mr. Joe. Thank you for your time.
Now we move to close public comment on the budget.
Second.
I have a motion.
Yeah, second.
We got a first and second.
Yeah, right.
All in favor?
Yeah, to address some concerns that I wasn't at the prior meetings, I was at every single operations meeting. Let's be crystal clear, I work 24 hours a day, okay? I miss Christmas, I miss New Year's, I miss Thanksgiving. So, don't think that me not being here, my presence wasn't working with the board to do everything to help this district as much as possible. Now, secondly, everything that everybody said comes down to ratables. I hope to see everybody at a council meeting to talk about ratables, because ratables factor in, for example, fire department stipend, police department contracts, DPW contracts, Board of Ed contracts, all these things come into play, and we have to plan for the future. So I hope to see everybody at council meeting, and you can say exactly what you said.
Yeah, so, I'm probably, any board member who wants to correct me, I think I'm the only board member who has a relative in the district right now. And I actually I graduated only 2 years ago, and I used the programs that was talked about, Mendu. I personally think it was useless, if I remember correctly. Why not use Quizlet if you want to learn vocab words? And I think we could make savings on that. Or docs, I think we could make savings on that. I think what's stopping us from just putting a PDF of the agenda on our website? I think that's free, free additional cost, rather than using Board Docs, which I think maybe, raise your hand, how many of you use Board Docs?
Yeah,
No, sorry.
Director Collins.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. My apologies. And then Alex, that could be used now with ChatGPT, Gemini, all the artificial intelligence software. Students can easily cheat on Alex, and I know that there was I was a student. There was a market of students paying another students to do their Alex, and I think at that point, like, that's just like, I think but my point is like real teaching instruction, having real teachers there is important. I'm a student at UVA, and we place an emphasis on discussions with our professors. We put an emphasis on the hands-on instruction rather than like doing some kind of like McGraw-Hill, like do the activity on McGraw-Hill, like on your web, like we emphasize, and I saw the value of that. I think I learned a lot from real-time instruction, and so yeah, I think we should look at the software cuts, and therefore, and I heard about a lot about the math teacher, the math classes, and I was a student only not too long ago, and there was the classes were like there's like importance. Like I think the math teachers are really important in our school district. Can we have order?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So I was wondering if we could amend the agenda item K20 and K21 to allow for the increase for us to keep that math instruction.
You have to wait for the motion to be on the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
But is that something we could do at the
We do it when there's a first and a second, motion and a second. Okay?
I have a couple questions after hearing everything that I thought of. It's a few questions. So my first question is, at the preliminary budget hearing, this board was told on public record that the district would do everything it could to help those who unfortunately had to be non-renewed or cut or ripped, whatever the case, to help them find other work and land on their feet. I would just like to hear on the record what steps are being taken. If every other district in North Jersey in the conceivable driving radius is also in the same position and isn't hiring, what steps exactly are being taken? I'll pause there and then I'll ask my next question.
So I've made phone calls to some friends, colleagues in other districts. Some of them are looking for the exact position we've let go because they had a lot of retirements in one department in our high school. But as you said, in other areas, they're trying to limit their hiring as well. So we are trying. How successful, districts are passed their budget last week and this week. So once things settle down, hopefully we can move forward on that.
Thank you for answering. My second question is, has research been done, and if so, what form did the research take, of surveys or canvassing, something like that, it's been a concern in past years whether or not the 8th graders continue on to our high school and the profile of our high school. We have put a lot in the past into marketing our high school and the availability of classes and the availability of programs such as the arts and music program, even the sports. So have we looked into that, and what form did that research take?
I'm not sure our research. We do work at the high school and the middle school work hand in glove. We do have a lot of connection between 8th grade and 9th grade in terms of scheduling meetings. I think they have some concerts at the 8th grade concerts at the high school. The students are familiar with our building, perhaps not with our staff, but with our building. But this is something we look at every year once we get the applications for the county VOTEX, or the county schools in general. Formal research, so it's really just.
So for example, we don't know what the anticipated impact of cutting things might be? Like cutting these few math classes or whatever, we don't have any sort of like projected impact on how that would affect enrollment.
So we schedule all of our 8th graders for a freshman schedule. Because we have to assume everyone is coming to our high school, which is why this time of year the freshman classes are large on paper, and then we don't get a list from the county schools until later on. And then when we get a list of students going to the county schools, obviously we just delete those students from our rolls, and our class sizes for freshmen tend to shrink over the summer.
Just to jump in here real quick, preliminarily, it does seem that we're not having as many students this year attending the academy. It looks like we're having more staying in district, but that's just preliminarily right now. It may change.
Thank you. And then my last question is kind of a two-part, but when I look at the agenda that was submitted, I see the approvals of the superintendent's recommendations for rehires. In terms of everybody who spoke about somebody who's already been non-renewed, there is no agenda item on tonight's agenda for that, correct?
Yeah, there doesn't have to be. As far as non-renewals, that comes from, there's no board vote on non-renewals. That comes from the administration, from the superintendent. The renewals are on for board vote.
Right, so there's no way to vote down a non-renewal, thus
Correct,
saving
that's
said
correct.
person.
And those employees are entitled to what's called a Donaldson hearing.
Yes.
Where they could come before you, appeal to the board, and then that's the only way that the board could take action.
And no requests were received for those?
I don't know.
It's a hearing, I just assumed you would know as like.
No, I mean, it gets communicated to the
We don't have any requests.
And lastly, a couple times, it was said to Mr. Joe that any amendments as to the specifics would have to be made after the budget is voted on. So in terms of what specifically is being cut, we're not giving the county a list, or the state, a list of we're cutting this sports budget, we're cutting this whatever. That's all still up in flux. We're just giving them a total final amount and the total final impact to taxpayers. I just want to be clear that that's what we're actually sending.
Yeah, so what we send is the tax levy increase on revenues and then the appropriations. They have to match on either side. That's why we call it a balanced budget. They don't get information specifically as to what or who we're cutting. That's the district prerogative. They just want to make sure that your appropriations are meeting your revenue, that your budget is balanced. That's about it.
So for example, if we were to try and make an amendment to save a particular math teacher in the interest of saving math specialty classes, we would first approve or vote on the budget and then say, including this one particular person we feel is necessary, and you figure out where else that needs to come from?
Well,
So I think if you're going to add personnel to the budget, we have to increase the budget by a commensurate amount. So if you just say, let's take all the persons who are non-renewed for next year, we're gonna take them back. As of right now, we wouldn't have money in our budget to support the position. So if you wanna add, make up a number, $70,000 math teacher, you'd have to raise taxes by the commensurate amount. 70,000, which is, you know, I have to figure that out, but you just couldn't, so the budget is balanced now. If you started adding expenditures without adding appropriations, that's how districts go underwater. And there are a couple in the state who have done that already, because they don't match their appropriations and their revenues. Or they set a budget at 50 million and then they spend $51 million in a year, and at the end of the year, they're short $1 million. And everybody wants to know how, and it's like, they go bankrupt the same way anybody goes bankrupt. First, little by little, and then all at once. So, if you wanna
Yes.
do that, I think the board can do that, but you'd have to, I would recommend, and really insist that you raise the appropriations to an equal amount.
But it's not like certain money or cuts have already been earmarked. So if we vote on the budget and then we vote to add one staff member back, then it just becomes a matter of finding it somewhere else, whether it's Membeans or whatever on the chopping block. It's just a matter of cutting from somewhere else that had previously thought it was saved.
Or don't pass the budget, so that you couldn't have
I
any.
suppose that's correct.
Thank you for answering all my questions, I really appreciate it.
I want to ask a motion for a 2-minute reset.
Second.
Okay, we're gonna stop it for a minute.